We kick things off diving straight into the running back room, where there's no doubt we'll see Jaden Blue handle carries early in preseason action. He's locked in. Phil Moffitt figures to get his snaps as the team wants to evaluate every layer of that depth chart before week 1. Beyond those two, I lean toward seeing Javian Williams and Miles Sanders suiting up during the exhibition games. If either one rests on the sidelines absent injury, that choice will speak volumes about roster security heading into September. And under this fresh coaching staff, I wouldn't rule out giving the starters a taste of live action at least in a quarter or two just to gauge their timing and physical readiness. In fact, I'd be just fine watching all 5 of our top backs share the load. In those early contests, nobody should feel entitled to a roster spot without showing what they can do under lights. Flipping to the defensive side, the eternal debate between adding a defensive tackle or a cornerback rages on. In my view, the tackle room is where the worry lies. Last year's haul of late-round linemen simply didn't deliver consistent play against the run. Cornerback help feels easier to source on the open market or in training camp, but quality interior pushers are scarce. If forced to prioritize, I'd address the nose guard vacancy now and lean on a stopgap corner until mid-season. That said, I'm eager to see how joint practices in August influence the board. Maybe a surprise candidate emerges in both trenches. When it comes to the quarterback room, the burning question is whether Will Grier secures that backup role over Joe Milton or vice versa, and if either man earns a spot as the designated third quarterback under the emergency third QB rule. My gut tells me both could make it given how teams must configure their game day active list. Grier's experience with the offense gives him a slight edge in that spot, and there's room to maneuver him onto the practice squad as the emergency option if roster crunch rises. But should Dak Prescott go down, God forbid, you want whoever's between Grier and Milton to be ready to step in without hesitation, so feel free to cast your vote WG for Grier or JM for Milton. The chatter around Jalen Ramsey's trade value remains a head-scratcher. He ended up in Pittsburgh in a convoluted deal that included Minkah Fitzpatrick swapping hands and a future 5th for 7 selection exchange, yet no one truly knows what the Cowboys might have given up to land him. Suffice it to say they weren't ever in serious pursuit. His contract demands alone would have blown their cap structure apart. It makes for good rumor fodder, but as far as Dallas is concerned, Ramsey was always too expensive both in dollars and draft currency. On the topic of linebackers, Micah Murray's status as a true 3-down player still invites skepticism. When he's played with a clean line of sight flowing downhill, without chipping or stunting, he hunts like a man possessed. Yet invite misdirection or require him to drop into nuanced coverage, and the angles become muddled until the front 7 is at full strength. I'm inclined to view that position as a feast or famine assignment capable of flashes, but in need of further refinement. Under game speed conditions, Crystal Ball Finley floated the idea of Kenneth Walker heading out of Seattle, but I'm not convinced the Seahawks will let their emerging star walk away, especially not for reasonable compensation. They've already invested capital in Zach Charbonnet, and while their backup stable is thin, I doubt general manager John Schneider would part with Walker unless the return was astronomical. Long-term, keep an eye on his contract situation, but for now he's a Seahawk no-deal brewing. Looking ahead at the schedule, I'd peg 10 wins as the barometer for a successful season. The finale gauntlet features the Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, and Commanders back-to-back, all legitimate playoff teams. You'll need to build a cushion with a hot start. Think Week 1 contests against the Giants and Bears, followed by matchups with the Packers, Jets, and Panthers. Nail those opening dates and you're poised to weather the fall stretch. Stumble early and the momentum could evaporate. Trade season remains open, and if I were calling the shots, I'd inquire about Jordan Davis in Philadelphia. A true run stopper at nose, he'd complement our three-technique trio and fortify the interior rush. Of course, the Eagles have no incentive to trade such a cornerstone, especially to a division rival, but in a perfect world, that front four would be menacing. Realistically, though, Davis stays put, leaving Dallas to find another answer closer to home. Finally, injuries haunted both sides of the ball last year, none more glaring than the loss of your franchise quarterback. Soft tissue tears are often unavoidable, and while modern sports medicine has advanced, a torn Achilles or hamstring can strike at any moment. The line returning healthy, the core skill position players steering clear of nagging ailments. Those will be the catalysts. If the team navigates the injury minefield better and the offensive line shows growth from its youthful cast, then this roster is built to contend. Underneath it all, the question remains, will these Cowboys finally remain upright and unleash the Potential we've all glimpsed, only time and a little luck will tell. Turning our attention to the defensive blueprint, the excitement builds around what coordinator Mike Eberflus will dial up once that season opener whistle sounds. We know Eberflus cut his teeth running Tampa to heavy schemes under Monty Kiffin, and there's every reason to believe we'll see vestiges of that high shell coverage, designed to keep everything in front while relying on disciplined pursuit from his linebackers. Yet in Chicago, he showed a willingness to mix in more aggressive man coverage looks and five-man rush packages that kept defenses off balance, so I fully expect a hybrid approach. Imagine late-down nickel blitzes with man-to-man brackets on dynamic tight ends interspersed with zone drops that shrink the field horizontally. He won't be married to one concept, rather he'll tilt his front foot toward generating pressure, while trusting those cornerbacks and safeties to disguise their intentions. Until the ball is in the air, it's the kind of chess match that can suffocate even the most balanced offenses, provided your personnel buys in and executes without mental errors. Speaking of cornerbacks, let's circle back to the room and the question of Gilmore's role as a short-term stabilizer. At this stage of his career, we're not signing Gilmore to morph into an all-pro lockdown artist. Rather, he's a veteran presence meant to shore up a unit that's thin on proven depth. He'll likely be penciled in across from Trevon Diggs, offering crisp route recognition and the occasional flashy pass breakup. But don't expect him to shadow Chris Olave or Deebo Samuel every snap. He's more of a chess piece you rotate when you need sure tackling and quick reaction to short crossing routes. If he can hold his own against slot receivers and minimize penalties, he'll have done his job freeing the younger guys to learn at the NFL pace without being thrown to the wolves. The ongoing theme here is roster construction under the salary cap microscope. With big investments in the offensive line and quarterback positions, you're forced to be strategic when allocating resources to the secondary and interior defensive line. That's why hearing the brass talk about value acquisitions in free agency makes sense. They're not chasing splashy names, instead they're shopping for scheme-fits guys who can step in on early downs, do their assignment, and disappear without giving up explosive plays. Over time, if a veteran like Gilmore can mentor a promising rookie or second-year man, you've multiplied your return on investment. It may not garner clickbait headlines, but sustained consistency from that unit is what turns good teams into great ones. Let's pivot back to the trenches and revisit the nose tackle conversation, because the truth is, winning in September starts at the line of scrimmage. If your nose guard is a sieve against power runs, you're surrendering the middle of the field and playing from behind. In that sense, the Cowboys' interest in propping up that spot makes total sense. Whether it's through the draft, a veteran reclamation project, or a mid-season trade, expect that quest to remain a priority until they find a plugger who can absorb double teams and still eat up gaps. Failure to do so forces linebackers into two-gap responsibilities they may not be suited for, given how Eberflus wants them to roam sideline to sideline. The danger is clear. Let that interior run game boil and all the exotic blitzes in the world matter because you're constantly up against one-dimensional third and long scenarios. As for the coaching staff's approach to practice habits and injury prevention, the buzz is that they're leaning into next-gen load management strategies by monitoring practice reps with GPS tracking and doubling down on post-practice recovery protocols. The team hopes to blunt the soft tissue injuries that plagued them last year. Of course, no technology can guarantee against freak accidents. Some plants and cuts will always carry risk, but instituting targeted gym sessions, mobility work, and staggered rest days could be the difference in keeping their stars healthy deep into December. It's not flashy, but it's the kind of behind-the-scenes grind that underpins any sustained playoff push. Turning to the most vibrant question in the mailbag, who do you want to see trade for? The answer continues to circle back to that elusive nose tackle or a defensive back who fits like a glove rather than a square peg in a round hole. But on offense, some have floated interest in adding a second tight end with receiving chops, a versatile chess piece to unlock tight sets in quick strike scenarios. Imagine pairing a blocker like Phenom next to that seam-stretching flex guy to keep safeties neutralized. It's a small tweak, but one with deceptively large implications for play-action success and third-down conversions. Whether that comes via free agency or a creative mid-season swap, it's a storyline worth tracking. Meanwhile, the quarterback competition for backup reps has pitched its own miniseries. Beyond Greer and Milton, whispers of undrafted camp invitees or late flower prospects jockeying for reps have circulated, underscoring how critical that third spot has become under the new rules. The ideal candidate isn't just a locker room glue guy, he's a guy who can execute basic concepts. Under duress, keep the ship afloat during mope-up duty, and maybe just maybe flash enough juice to earn an invite from another team in need. It's one of those roster spots that rarely makes headlines until it's needed. And by then you hope you've chosen wisely. Of course, none of this roster speak matters if the playmakers on the field aren't delivering. Dak Prescott's health is the linchpin. When he's upright, his ability to extend plays and operate in the pocket becomes the fulcrum for how aggressive the offense can be. The offensive line, still one of the youngest units in football, must gel quickly. They carry massive expectations. After years of investment, the first-rounders drafted to anchor the interior, the veterans brought in to mentor, and the young swing tackles earmarked as future cornerstones. If that group can live up to the hype and give Prescott the clean pockets he needs, the entire offense takes on a different tenor. It's a more balanced threat that forces defenses to respect both the pass and the run. We can't close this chapter without revisiting special teams, the oft-overlooked third phase that can swing close games. Field position matters more than ever in a league defined by analytics, and the Cowboys unit, led by a coordinator with a reputation for scheming directional punts and punt coverage wedges, must prove that last season's lapses were an aberration. A reliable field goal kicker and a returner who can flip the script on a single long run are the textbook ingredients for hidden yardage that add up over a grueling season. Count on more gadget plays in practice, just enough to catch return teams off guard, without tipping your hand when the real snaps count. In the end, this team's success hinges on marrying talent with execution, health with resilience, and schematic versatility with personnel strengths. Whether it's uncovering the right nose tackle, leaning into a hybrid defensive scheme, or simply keeping Dak upright through a 10-win campaign, the path forward is as clear as it is challenging. No roster is perfect, no scheme invincible, and no season without its defining moments. That's the beauty and the brutality of football at this level, where every coaching decision, every schematic wrinkle, and every single practice rep builds toward that ultimate goal, carving out a piece of the postseason and having the horses to make noise. Once you get there, the journey promises to be as compelling as ever, and we'll be right here dissecting each development as it unfolds under those Friday night lights. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Could Dak Prescott be on the trading block? The Dallas Cowboys, after years of riding high with their star quarterback, might be ready to turn the page and embark on a full rebuild. And that could mean a seismic shift in their roster, starting with Prescott himself. Rumors are swirling around the NFL world that the Cowboys are quietly exploring trade options for their franchise quarterback, signaling a potential end to an era that began when Prescott was drafted in 2016. This speculation comes amid whispers that Dallas is no longer content to chase immediate success with the current core and is instead looking to reshape the team for long-term sustainability. The Cowboys have had a roller coaster ride in recent seasons, with Prescott delivering solid performances but not quite elevating the team to Super Bowl glory. Injuries and inconsistent supporting cast have hampered their chances, and some insiders believe management is considering a drastic overhaul. Trading Dak Prescott would be an earthquake move for the Cowboys, given that he's been the face of the franchise for almost a decade. However, the chatter suggests that Dallas might prefer to invest in younger talent, draft capital, and financial flexibility rather than keep Prescott's hefty contract on the books. With the NFL landscape evolving, teams are increasingly valuing versatility and cap space, and the Cowboys may be following that trend. On the flip side, there's no shortage of teams rumored to be interested in adding a quarterback of Prescott's caliber. If the Cowboys pull the trigger, they could receive a substantial haul in return, possibly multiple first-round picks or young prospects to build around. This would give Dallas the ammunition to jumpstart their rebuild, while allowing Prescott to compete immediately for a contender elsewhere. While nothing is official yet, the mere possibility of Dak Prescott being traded has already stirred a frenzy among fans and analysts alike. Is Dallas ready to move on from a player who has been the linchpin of their offense for so long? Or is this just posturing to test the market and pressure Prescott into renegotiating his contract? Only time will tell. For now, the Cowboys' apparent willingness to consider a rebuild and explore trading their star quarterback adds an intriguing layer to the off-season drama. As the NFL world watches closely, one thing is certain: if this rumor becomes reality, it will mark one of the most significant turning points in recent Cowboys history. Fans should brace for a shakeup. the Dak era in Dallas might be nearing its end. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.